I warn you from the start that I don't like how this piece turns out. I mean, it isn't terrible, but I just don't like it. And I know that on social media it's all about sharing your best pieces in a look how wonderful I am, please hire me and buy my products kind of way, which obviously, please hire me and buy my products. But I wanted to talk about when you do art that you don't like in my art video today. And I could have shared with you something that I did like that kind of worked out, but I don't know, it just didn't seem to fit. So the purpose of today's video is to give you some practical help and advice as to what to do when you don't like the art that you're producing, because I'm a practical kind of gal. So this video is split into two parts. The first part, I have 5 tips to help you to deal and improve your art. Then in the second part of the video, I'm going to tear this piece apart. Well, not literally. I just wanted to show you how I deal with my art hiccups and hopefully give you some tools to deal with your own. So let's get into this. First up, know that you are going to do rubbish art. Don't worry, it's part of the creative process. You have to do rubbish to get to the good art, unless you're like extraordinarily lucky. But even the most proficient and talented artists out there have their off days. And you know what? Worst still, I actually think that the bad art is a gateway to doing good art. So you can't bypass it even if you wanted to. And I often find that if I'm doing lots of bad art, it usually comes just before I have some sort of breakthrough. So in some cases, bad art might even be a sign that you're kind of getting somewhere. Okay, so once we've gotten used to the fact that bad art is just part of the creative process, the next we want to be able to recognise the bad art. What's truly bad, what has potential, and what is actually good. You want to learn to be the best judge of your own art. And it's a really tricky balance, and there's a lot of opposing factors to this point, but I'll try and explain what I mean. What makes your art rubbish to you is all down to your personal taste, your backgrounds, your influences, the world that you live in. And that's really where you want to focus your judgment about your art. You need to be able to see what is rubbish to you about it and work on making that not so rubbish. If you rely on outside influences to make that judgment for you, like posting something up on Instagram and then counting the likes, or even going to a friend and asking them what they think, you may find that the seed inside you that is the artist you want to develop into gets knocked off course, or worse still, might even start doing other people's art because they feel that's already been validated. So you have to strike a balance of not being too self-critical about your own art, but being able to take your own constructive criticism to help your art self to grow and improve. And when it comes to seeking outside advice, you need to be able to listen first to your own art seed, your own self, and filter out the advice that you get from other people that aligns with those values, and just focus on the advice that is actually going to help your seed to flourish. It's a hard one to do. Artists don't work in a vacuum, so there is a constant give and take between you and your ideas of what makes good art and a world and its ideas of what makes good art. So do listen to yourself, but also be open to true constructive criticism. The stuff that's really going to help you to grow. And likes on Instagram is not constructive criticism, by the way. Sorry. On the practical side of this, try to judge your art once it's finished, once you've got a finished project, and not during the process. You kind of want to turn off the judge as you're working. If when you have finished and you're looking at your piece and all that's coming from it is a stream of negative emotions, then it might be time to step away, take a break, a few minutes, maybe even a few days. Sometimes you just need to distance yourself to be able to make that clear judgment. You aren't rubbish, but sometimes you will do art that you don't like this piece for me, for example. And as I said in that first point, that's the best place to learn and improve your art. You have to kind of go through the bad art to get to the good art. So turn it around and see it as an opportunity to grow. trust yourself, and nurture that trust, build that trust up. It's all part of that art seed that is you as the artist. So my third tip would be an analyst. Analyse why a piece is not working for you. So maybe try and look at your art like you might look at a friend's art if they've asked for your opinion. What could your friend have done to make it better? What about it is working for you, and what about it isn't working for you? This is quite an essential part of a creative process, but it's often the part that we don't spend much time on. Now, you might have done plenty of rubbish art in the past that you've basically gone, ugh, I don't want to look at that again. But sometimes it can really help to dig down deep and see what you can do about it. And I'll show you more on that in a minute, but let's move on to tip number 4, because you can really help yourself by studying how art works, both in the theory and in the practice. And I don't just mean the technical side of it, of how your materials work, but how things like composition, how colour works, how design works, all of these aspects to art. And this is a lifelong learning process, and each time you delve into it, you are likely to find something new. Learning the theory by taking a class or reading a book about it, and then practicing it and absorbing it into our own practices until it becomes second nature to you. Now, some of it you might be already doing just naturally, and you just we all gravitate to certain art, looks, compositions, colours, all of these sorts of things. So learn to spot your own preferences, your own art traits, and what you gravitate towards. Look at your work, look at other people's work, and what about it is calling to you. Pull out point number 3 again, and analyse why you are drawn to these pieces. What is it about them? And this is not necessarily to copy them, but more to see the patterns of what you already love about art. And go ahead and keep a sketchbook or a journal that is all about capturing these points, these things that make you love the art that you see. Perhaps it's the colour, it could be the way the lines look, or the way the elements are placed, how the person managed to get harmony in the piece, or how you managed to get harmony in the piece. Whatever it is, note it down and use this journal as a reference book for yourself. Trying to improve our art can be overwhelming sometimes, but we all know that the way to get a big project done is to break it up into smaller manageable chunks, and then taking each one of these chunks and doing them one by one rather than trying to do the whole thing at once. It's exactly the same with art. Once you've worked out your major sticking points by analysing your work, looking at other people's work, looking at what attracts you to pieces, you can focus on what's really bothering you about your art and work on making that better. And of course, this is a lifelong journey as well. Art moves and improves and changes, and so are your sticking points and the things that you need to change and the things that you need to evolve. So as well as analysing it, you have to keep on analysing it and reassessing where you need to go with it. But that's all part of the fun, right? So why I don't like this piece? Well, let me just show you how I would analyse a piece of my own work, obviously on a good day after I've done step 2, or I've walked away from a bit and detached myself from it. As you're watching this piece, it's still in progress. You won't see the finished piece until the end of the video, but I'm gonna kind of walk you through the kind of things that I ask myself when I have that finished piece in front of me. So first up, what I'm going to do is take something about the piece that I really like. So for this particular page, I'm loving how some of the mark making shapes work. So I love those little triangles done with a ballpoint pen and how they layer over some of that colour too. I really like that. But what isn't working for me is that some of the straight lines that overlap the circles, I don't know what it is about them, but they're just not hitting the spot for me. One of them I really like, but the other ones, they're just looking too chaotic for me. Something I do like though about this piece is I'm loving the hot colours, that red and orange with the cooler teal colour, and also that natural buff or Naples yellow red light colour that's there. That combination is working, but what isn't working I add in a strong dark green colour, and I don't know, no matter how much I try, I just can't get myself to like it. I do like the red mark making with the crayon at the later stages in this piece, particularly how it works with the pen circle in the top right hand corner on the finished piece. But the dark green mark making, nope, again, something about it, I just don't like it. Okay, so by now I hope you see what I'm doing. I'm picking out something that I like first, then picking out something that isn't working for me. The idea is that you look at both the positive and negative things that appeal to you and don't appeal to you in your piece, and don't just concentrate on just the negative things. Take note of all these things, you can even write them down if it helps. And I would sometimes make notes on the back of pieces. I mean, I wouldn't do it on this is in my junk journal. So what I might do for something like this is jot it down on a piece of paper and then paperclip those notes to that piece. You just want some way of capturing those thoughts that you had. Once you've analysed your piece, put in some action plans or some learning points that you want to take away with you and remember. And these are probably more important than the analysis itself, but you need to go through that analysis stage to be able to get to these action plans and learning points. So for me on this particular page, let me share with you, say 3 learning points and action plans that I want to take away with me. So one of the action plans would be to keep adding triangles, see where they go for me. I might start adding them in to some of my other projects, and I have already done that. A learning point and something that I want to experiment with and find out what's happening is my issue with the dark green. Is there a way that I can use it and be happy with how I use it? Or is it a colour that just doesn't fit into my style? I'm just not attracted to it. I'm not quite sure yet, so that's something I want to work on. Something else I learnt from this page that I want to explore and maybe use further is the bold mark making over and around motifs and shapes, and I really liked how that looked, so that's something that I could look into on other pieces. Doing this type of exercise helps you to turn a piece you aren't gelling with into a roadmap to bettering your art, improving your art, and working out what it is that makes your art your art. So embrace doing rubbish art. Rubbish art is really your friend. I hope that helps you today, and if you haven't been put off by my bad art today, then watch these videos next, which will be full of more tips, tricks, and hopefully not so rubbish art to get you creating, and I'll see you over there.